Hello everyone, I'm Bhamtab along with Abhishek. On the behalf of my team members Rohit, Trishant, Sangharsh, we are here to present the basics of real-time scheduling. This is an essential topic in computing, particularly for systems where tasks must be completed within strict time limits to ensure reliability and safety. We will be covering the fundamentals of real-time scheduling, why it's important and how it's used across different applications. By the end, we hope to provide you with the clear understanding of how real-time scheduling keeps critical system running safely and effectively. We are excited to share our work with you. Now coming to the next slide. Real-time systems are computers designed to complete tasks or respond to inputs within a specific time limit. This time limit or deadline is crucial when the time of response affects safety and performance. Let's talk about some example in cars. Real-time system help control brakes, ensuring they respond instantly when needed. In medicine, they control devices like pacemaker, which needs to work in real time to keep patient safe. These systems are also used in factories to automate precise tasks and in aeroplane to help keep flights safe. Real time systems have two key features. First, timing constraints. They must finish tasks on time every time. Second, predictable performance. They are designed to work in the same way each time, even if conditions changes. These features make real-time systems reliable and essential in situations where time is critical. In short, real-time systems are necessary for applications where responding on time is not just important, it's essential. Now coming to the next slide. The type of real-time systems. Real-time systems are classified based on the consequences of missing deadlines. It is of three types. First one is hard real time systems. In these systems, missing a deadline leads to catastrophic failure. For example, anti-lock braking systems ABS in vehicles, flight control systems. The second one is soft real time systems. In these type of systems, missing a deadline may degrade system performance but does not lead to total failure. For example, video streaming and online gaming. Third one is the firm real time systems. In these systems, missing a deadline renders the task results useless, but system does not face critical failures. For example, financial market data processing, stock trading systems. Each type of real time systems has unique requirements based on the criticality of meeting deadlines, with the hard real time systems requiring the highest precision. Now coming to the next slides. The task description parameters. The essential task parameters are release time. This is the specific time when a task becomes ready to run in the system. Getting the release time right is essential. It's what ensure tasks start on schedule and are queued up approximately. Computation time. Now this represents the worst case time the task might take to complete. By accurately estimating this, we can avoid situations where tasks overrun and lead to missed deadlines. Now, deadline. This is the latest time by which a task absolutely must be completed. Meeting these deadlines is critical for maintaining the system's responsiveness. Period. For tasks that occur periodically, this is the interval between each execution. Setting this currently helps us keeping a regular and consistent execution frequency. Now, importance of accurate parameter estimates are these parameters form the foundation for precise scheduling decisions. They directly influence the system's performance, responsiveness, and overall reliability. The second importance of accurate parameter estimation is getting these values right is essential to ensure that real time constraints are always met. By accurately estimating each parameter, we prevent delays, avoid task conflicts, and enhance the system's dependability. Especially important in time sensitive applications. Now, coming to the next slide. Additional task types and deadlines. The first one is deadline types. So in the deadline types, the soft deadlines. Now with soft deadlines, missing one can impact system's performance or efficiency, but it does not lead to a total system failure. It's more about maintaining quality here. Missing it is not ideal, but also not disastrous. Now the firm deadlines, these are a bit of stricter. If we miss a firm deadline, the task's outputs become essentially useless, even though it does not cause the system to fail. So meeting firm deadlines is important to keep the system effective, even if failure is not critical. Now the hard deadlines, these are non-negotiable. Missing a hard deadline can cause catastrophic failure, which is why it is crucial to meet these deadlines to ensure the system safety and reliability. Now the task types are like periodic tasks. These are tasks that need to run at regular predictable intervals. Think of them like clockwork. They help us keep the system steady and consistent. Aperiodic tasks, like in these type of tasks, the period once a periodic task does not follow a fixed schedule. They are event driven, triggered by specific occurrence, which means they need to be handled as they come. So periodic tasks, these are similar to aperiodic tasks, but with a minimum interval between each occurrence. This minimum interval is important because it prevents sporadic tasks from overwhelming the system with too many events all at once. Now coming to the next slide, real time task characteristics. Let's look up at some essential characteristics of real time tasks, including their periodicity, deadlines, and priority. The first one is periodicity. In periodicity, the periodic tasks are executed at regular fixed intervals. For example, think of sensor data sampling, which might occur every 10 milliseconds. This regularity helps us keep certain processes consistent and predictable. In periodicity, we are having aperiodic tasks. In contrast, aperiodic tasks does not follow a fixed schedule. They are event driven, so they can run only when triggered by some specific events, like a task responding to users input. Now we are having deadline types, like the first one is absolute deadlines. This is a specific point in time by which the task must be completed. For instance, let's take a task might have a finish by exactly 100 milliseconds to be effective. Relative deadlines. So, unlike absolute deadlines, these are measured from when the task starts or is released. For example, a task might needs to complete within 10 milliseconds of its release time. Now we are having priorities and criticalities. So each task is assigned a priority level based on how urgent or critical it is to the system. Priority based scheduling ensures that tasks with the highest urgency get the resources they need to meet their deadlines. Like by assigning these priorities levels, we can make sure that most critical tasks are not delayed, which is key of maintaining systems responsiveness and reliability. So understanding these task characteristics like periodicity, deadline types, and priorities is essential for designing a real-time system that is responsive and efficient. Now coming to the next slide, we are having timing constraints. Here we are talking about critical timing matrices that are essential for managing tasks effectively in real time systems. The first one is worst case execution time, WCET. WCET represents the maximum time a task might take to complete under the most unfavorable conditions. Now, knowing this is a crucial for guaranteeing that deadlines are met, as it helps us plan for the longest possible execution time. Now, response time. It holds the total time from when a task is released to when it completes. So, this is especially important for tasks that needs immediate feedback or interactions. such as those in interactive applications or real-time user interfaces. Now latency. Here latency refers to delay between when task is triggered and when it actually starts executing. Reducing latency is critical in systems like that requires rapid responses, like robot control systems, where even a slight delay can impact performances. Now the last one is jitter. Jitter is the variation in task timing, whether it's in the task's release or duration during execution. High jitter can reduce system predictability, which is particularly important in control systems that need consistent timing to function effectively. Now coming to the next slide, classical real-time scheduling principles. The Liu and Leland's theory, like this theory is a cornerstone in real-time scheduling, especially for periodic tasks. Liu and Leland introduced two key scheduling models. Like the first one is rate monotonic scheduling, like RMS. If this is a priority-based approach where tasks with shorter periods have higher priority, and second one is EDF, earliest deadline first, that is a dynamic scheduling model where tasks are prioritized based on their deadlines, like with the closest deadline getting to the highest priority. So the significance of this theory is defined like under which tasks are guaranteed to meet their deadlines, like this is the conditions. It set the standard for determining the schedulability of tasks in a real-time system, which has had a profound influence on the development of modern real-time scheduling practices. And the application of this principle are widely applied in embedded systems and control systems, where timing is absolutely critical. By ensuring that each task meets its timing constraint, these models help maintain system stability and responsiveness. Now coming to the next slide, overview of scheduling algorithms, like giving a quick overview of scheduling algorithm which determine the order in which tasks are executed in operating systems and real time systems. We will cover three types, like the fixed priority scheduling, dynamic priority scheduling, and mixed scheduling approaches. The first one is like fixed priority scheduling. In this method, tasks are assigned static priorities before execution, and these priorities does not change. Like a popular example is rate monotonic scheduling, like the RMS, which task with the shorter periods get higher priorities. This approach is simple and effective for periodic tasks but lacks flexibility for dynamic tasks. Now the second one is dynamic priority scheduling. Here priority changes during execution, usually based on deadlines. The earliest deadline first, like the EDF, is a common example where the task with the earliest deadline is given the highest priority. EDF is flexible and optimal for real-time systems, but comes with higher overhead due to constantly recalculating priorities. And now the last one is mixed scheduling approaches, like that in this we combine both fixed and dynamic methods. This approach aims to balance the predictability of fixed priorities with the flexibility of dynamic ones, like improving systems efficiency. It's more complex but can be effective in systems with both periodic and aperiodic tasks. Now coming to the next slide, fixed priority scheduling. Talking about fixed priorities scheduling, the first in this method, each task is assigned a static priority before execution, and this priority remains unchanged throughout the task's execution. The higher priority tasks promote the lower priority ones. Like this approach is simple and effective for systems where tasks are predictable and have higher periods. However, there's a challenge that rises in some cases called priority inversion. So priority inversion happens when a lower priority task hold a resource that a higher priority task needs. This creates a situation where higher priority task is effectively blocked or delayed. which can cause it to miss its deadline. To solve this issue, we use priority inheritance protocol. So this protocols temporarily raises the priority of lower priority task that is holding the resources, effectively allowing it to finish and release the resources. Once the resource is released, the task's priority is restored to its original level. This ensures that higher priority tasks can proceed and meet its deadline without unnecessary delays. Now, my friend Abhishek will explain the rest of slides. So, Abhishek, can you please start?
So, giving you a quick overview of rate monotonic scheduling or RMS, a primitive fixed priority scheduling method used in real-time system for managing periodic tasks. In RMS, priorities are assigned based on task periods. The shorter the period, the higher the priority. This means that tasks which need to run more frequently gets prioritized, ensuring they can meet their deadlines without being delayed by lower frequency tasks. RMS is optimal among fixed priority schedulers for periodic tasks, meaning it will schedule a task set if any fixed priority algorithm can. To determine if a system is schedulable, we look at the CPU utilization U, which leads to satisfy U less than equal to n 2 to the power 1 by n minus 1. Here n represents the number of tasks. For large task sets, this formula indicates the CPU utilization should be below about 69% for all tasks to meet their deadlines. Let's look at a quick example. Suppose we have three tasks: T1 with a period of 2 milliseconds, T2 with 5 milliseconds, and T3 with 7 milliseconds. Since T1 has the shortest period, that is 2 milliseconds, it gets higher priority. T2 gets medium as it is having time period of 5 milliseconds, and T3 has the lowest. This structure minimizes latency for high frequency tasks, which is ideal for real time applications. Moving to the next, that is dynamic priority scheduling, where a task priority can change over time based on certain criteria. This approach is commonly used in real time systems with varying task demands. Earliest deadline first, or EDF, is one of the most popular dynamic priority algorithms. Here how it works. EDF assigns priority based on deadlines. The task with the closest deadline is given the highest priority. This makes EDF an optimal scheduling approach, capable of achieving up to 100% CPU utilization. EDF is especially advantageous in systems with diverse timing requirements because it is more flexible than fixed priority scheduling. However, it has a challenge. If the system is heavily loaded, EDF can become unstable, possibly leading to missed deadline when tasks pile up. Another dynamic priority algorithm is least laxity first (LLF), which prioritizes tasks based on laxity, which is defined as the time remaining before a deadline minus the time required to execute the task. This approach is particularly useful in environment with variable execution times, as it adapts to change in task timing more effectively than EDF. Moving to the next. So let's take a quick look at earliest deadline first (EDF), a dynamic scheduling method used in real-time system. How it works. In EDF, task priorities are assigned based on deadlines. The task with the closest deadline always has the highest priority. So EDF adjusts dynamically as deadline changes. This means tasks that are closest to their deadline will be executed first, ensuring timely processing. What are its advantages? One of the EDF's biggest advantage is that it can achieve up to 100% of CPU utilization, which is ideal for maximizing efficiency. Additionally, EDF offers greater flexibility than fixed priority methods, making it suitable for systems with varied and changing task deadline. Let's talk about example calculation. For example, if we have three tasks, task A with a deadline in 5 milliseconds, task B with a deadline in 10 milliseconds, task C with a deadline in 3 milliseconds. So we are having three tasks, one is 5 milliseconds, another is 10 milliseconds, and the third one is 3 milliseconds. So EDF will first schedule task C because it has the closest deadline, followed by task A and finally task B. This shows how EDF dynamically adapts to prioritize tasks closest to their deadline, ensuring efficient scheduling for time sensitive tasks. Going to the next slide, that is multiprocessor scheduling techniques. So, multiprocessor scheduling techniques focusing on partitions and global scheduling approaches. So, talking partition scheduling. In partition scheduling, tasks are permanently assigned to specific processors. This setup has some advantages. It reduces migration overhead since tasks do not move between processors, and it is generally simpler to implement. However, one drawback is that it may underutilize processor if tasks are not evenly distributed across them. Second is global scheduling. In contrast, global scheduling allows tasks to dynamically migrate between processors. This enables better processor utilization and lets the system adapt to varying loads. However, global scheduling can introduce challenges like synchronization issues and cache coherence problems due to frequent task migration. What are use cases? So, partition scheduling is commonly used in real time systems where high predictability is essential. On the other hand, global scheduling is better suited for dynamic load intensive applications that need flexibility. Now, going to the next slide, that is challenges in multiprocessor scheduling. So, let's discuss about it. Challenges in multiprocessor scheduling focusing on task migration overhead and cache coherence issues. Task migration overhead. When tasks migrate between processors, there is an increase in context switching overhead. This migration can cause delays due to cache misses, as the processor has to reload data that is not immediately available. This overhead can impact system efficiency, especially in high frequency migrations. Cache coherence issues. Tasks on different processors may access shared memory, leading to cache coherence challenges. This means changes in one processor cache may not immediately reflect in another's. Solution often involve using local cache or applying synchronization techniques to ensure data consistency across processors. For example, in real world system, tasks are often partitions to a specific processor to avoid the frequent migration that can increase overhead and cache issue. So, coming to the next slide, that is energy aware scheduling. It is a technique used to balance task execution and power consumption. A key focus in battery operated and heat sensitive systems. Dynamic voltage and frequency scaling, that is DVFS. One major approach in energy aware scheduling is dynamic voltage and frequency scaling. DVFS adjusts CPU frequency and voltage based on the workload. During lighter workloads, the CPU speed is lowered, which reduces power uses. Energy saving and trade offs. DVFS can achieve significant energy savings by reducing CPU speed when possible. However, there is a trade off. Lowering the CPU speed can increase task execution times, which may affect real time performance if tasks have strict deadlines. Talking about this application, energy aware scheduling is widely used in mobile and embedded systems to extend battery life. It is also common in cloud computing, where it can help reduce operational costs by optimizing power uses. Going to the next slide, that is case study in energy aware scheduling. Let's explore some real world case studies where energy aware scheduling is applied to improve efficiency and reduce power consumption. First is mobile devices. In mobile devices, dynamic voltage and frequency scaling is used to conserve battery life. For example, smartphone processors automatically reduce their frequency during periods of low activity, helping to extend battery life without compromising performance when more power is needed. Second is embedded systems in IoT. In IoT devices, low power mode are critical for extending battery life. An example of these sensors that remain in sleep mode until data needs to be transmitted. This minimizes energy consumption when the devices are not active. Third is cloud computing. In cloud computing, data centers uses DVFS to reduce energy costs and manage cooling. By adjusting CPU power according to the load, they can optimize power uses, lowering operational costs while ensuring servers are still able to handle peak demand. Going to the next slide, that is power management techniques. So, Let's discuss some key power management techniques used in modern systems to optimize energy efficiency. First is sleep mode and ideal states. Many processors support low power or ideal states, which reduce energy usage when tasks are not running. Scheduling can optimize these modes by putting the processor to sleep during ideal periods and waking it up only when necessary. This helps conserve energy without affecting performance. Second, active versus ideal power management. There are two main types of power management. Active power management, it reduces power consumption while the CPU is active, often using techniques like dynamic voltage and frequency scaling to adjust CPU frequency and voltage based on workload. Second is idle power management, which focuses on minimizing power usage during ideal times, ensuring that processors are not consuming unnecessary energy when not in use. Now, talking about thermal management. Excessive heat can impact system stability. Thermal aware scheduling helps manage heat by distributing tasks across cores to avoid creating hot spots. This ensures thermal efficiency and helps prevent overheating, which can lead to hardware failures. Going to the next slide, that is fault tolerant scheduling. Fault tolerant scheduling, which ensures that critical tasks are completed on time, even when component fails or unexpected faults occur. Purpose of fault tolerant scheduling. The primary goal of fault tolerant scheduling is to guarantee the timely completion of critical tasks, even in the presence of hardware failures or software faults. This ensures that system can continue to operate reliably even under adverse conditions. Let's talk about importance in real time. Fault tolerant scheduling is especially important in real time systems where reliability, predictability are crucial. It is used in sectors like aerospace, automotive, healthcare, and industrial automation, where failure to meet deadlines could have serious consequences, such as safety risk or system malfunctions. Application of fault tolerant scheduling. Fault tolerant scheduling is widely applied in aerospace system where mission critical tasks must always be completed. Medical devices, ensuring patient safely in case of system failures. Automotive systems, where real-time responses are necessary for vehicle safety. Industrial automation, where reliability is key to continuous operations. Mm, Going to the thank you.